New Radio, new 92.7 FM. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Another week of football in the books in college football and, of course, in the region in high school football. We had some shocking results from the weekend. I mean, we had a not-so-shocking result in the Amco Transmission and Total Car Care game of the week, in which Sam and I went down to McCallie. McCallie hosted Baylor. McCallie beat up Baylor like we thought that they would, but the game was still fun. Baylor made it interesting for a half, even halfway through the third quarter. It was a very exciting, interesting game. You could feel the intensity in the arena. You could feel it, and the fans were loud. The Baylor fans were loud throughout that entire game, and it was interesting. It was fun. It was exciting. This game always is, and you could tell by the fact that the bleachers were filled, and you had people all along the track area standing up, watching the game, standing room only. I mean, there's a reason why they don't sell tickets to that game. It's impossible. It's impossible to get everyone in there that would want to get in there. So unless you have a connection to the school or you're broadcasting, you're not getting in. Like, period. And you could see in the intensity the reason why that game is so huge. But McCallie showing that they're the real deal. D'Angelo Hardy, their quarterback, proving to be a threat with his legs and with his arm. He made a lot of big plays for McCallie. And that's a real team. Baylor has their issues that they're going to need to work out. That was an important game for them to win because they were trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. But just looking at the game, just looking at the opportunities that Baylor had, I thought they missed a bunch of them. I thought that they didn't throw the ball enough to be in that game. They used their field position. They used time of possession to really control that football game. And I thought that was an opportunity for them to maybe make some plays late in the game when they had themselves in it, but they didn't throw the ball. You know, a lot of different kinds of running schemes, but not enough going to the air for the Baylor Red Raiders. And that was part of the reason why they wound up going down. But Coach Massey joined us on Thursday, and I wonder how much of his desire to just not let that game run away from him was why he kept it conservative, because it was a reason why they were in the game in the first place. I mean, as much as I want to sort of criticize the play calling, the conservative play calling is why they were in the game in the first place. And then obviously it's why it got away from them. There should have been some halftime adjustments there. I'm sure people will have questions about that, but regardless, I thought those players played about as good a game as they could have. There were folks who thought that game was going to be a 3-4 touchdown game because that's how good McCallie's looked this year. And fortunately for us, we got a game that was exciting through three quarters, and that's about as good as you can ask for. Whitwell also beating up on South Pittsburgh, which nobody saw coming. Even if you thought Whitwell could win that game, I thought Whitwell was going to win the game, but I didn't know that Whitwell could beat up on South Pittsburgh. Like that, Whitwell can, they're the state. Can we crown them? I know you can't crown somebody in October, but can you? Because they look that good. You know what I mean? They look good enough to say these guys are winning a state title. Granted, you've got to stay focused. You've got to stay locked in. This is the reason why you play the games, because anybody can be beaten. And football is the worst sport to go ahead and try and crown somebody off of just because of the randomness that happens in this game. Somebody fumbles the ball. Where's it bouncing? We've seen fluky interceptions this year. We've seen fluky fumbles. That's the game of football. There's a degree of randomness. You're never going to be able to fully predict it. So crowning somebody this early is really hard to do. But when a team looks as dominant as Whitwell has looked all season in that region, can't you? I don't have the answer to those questions. I'm just saying it seems to me to be that way. You're listening to All New Nougat Radio, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. A little later on in the show, we're going to talk about Georgia and their loss to LSU, what that means. Is it time to push the panic button if you're a Bulldog fan? Are you resurrected if you're a Tiger fan? Auburn's problems continue. We'll talk about that. But it is an NFL Sunday, and I want to talk about the big matchup that's going on tonight. And I'll give you my pick later on in the show because I do the picks in the last segment. But here's the thing. The Chiefs and the Pats, that's the big game. That's the Sunday night football game. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Can Tom Brady be passing on the torch to Patrick Mahomes? It's possible. If Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs go into Foxborough and get a win, you can effectively say that Tom Brady's passed on the torch to Patrick Mahomes. You can. I know that there are people who are like, well, I don't like that you're putting Patrick Mahomes in the Hall of Fame 5 games into. Look, no one's putting him on the Hall of Fame. That's a straw man argument. No one is putting Patrick Mahomes in the Hall of Fame. No one is giving Patrick Mahomes an MVP. But Patrick Mahomes is a stud now. And Patrick Mahomes looks the part of an NFL quarterback, a franchise NFL quarterback. And if you can't look at that and go, Brady's on his way out, he hasn't looked like it. He still plays at an exceptionally high level. But I'm sorry. If I have to choose between Tom Brady and Father Time, Tom Brady's got a great record, but Father Time's never lost. I'm going to go with Father Time. When you talk about the changing of the guard, this is what this looks like. Patrick Mahomes goes into New England. If he's able to take out Tom Brady in his own house, and this does have playoff ramifications. You could say, well, shouldn't a passing of the torch be a playoff game? Right? The infamous Deflategate game with Andrew Luck. Had the Colts won that game, we could have argued that was a passing of the torch. The Colts wound up not winning that game, but we could have argued that was a changing of the guard. Doesn't that have to be a playoff game? Doesn't that have to be a Super Bowl? Doesn't that have to be some kind of high stakes game? And I'll tell you what, it really doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It has to be a game that matters, right? Like this week 1 of the season, it's not really a game that like matters that much. But I'll tell you why this game matters, why it's high stakes. New England's not going to play this one off. They're 3-2. They don't want to be 500 6 weeks into the season. Oh, they'll still make the playoffs. But New England likes to lock their stuff up early. They like to have home field advantage. You can't lose this game to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs if you want to do those things. First off, because putting yourself at 500 2 weeks before the midway point of the season, that's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? Like that doesn't seem like that's going to work out particularly well. And if you want the home field advantage that the Patriots love to have, the Patriots love for the road to the Super Bowl to go through New England. Why? They don't lose very many games up there. They don't. But here's the thing. The Chiefs beat the Patriots in New England last year. They're not afraid. The Chiefs have already beaten AFC rivals, the Chargers. The Chiefs have already beaten the Broncos. Like the Chiefs are racking up a body count in the AFC. They've already taken out Jacksonville. If they take out the Patriots too, here's a bona fide fact. The road to the Super Bowl goes through Arrowhead. Fact. That's what you want, right? Like isn't that what you want if you are the Kansas City Chiefs? So this is a big game for you. And that's not what you want if you're the Patriots. So this is a big game for you. This game, week 6 of the season, it matters. So no one is saying that Patrick Mahomes is an MVP, even though you ought to put him in the race. His numbers are that good. No one is saying that Patrick Mahomes is going to be wearing a gold jacket and putting his bust in Canton. No one's saying those things. But what I am saying is this next wave of young NFL quarterbacks, that these are going to be the superstars of the future, that mantle could be passed from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes today. If Patrick Mahomes plays well, has a big-time performance, right, bounces back from his 2-interception game, which was bad, which was a very bad game. The Chiefs won despite him. And honestly, I think the Chiefs needed one like that. The Chiefs needed a game where Patrick Mahomes didn't go out there and play a hero. And the reason why this game is going to be so much fun, look at the minds. the brain power in this game. You've got Belichick and you've got Reed. The best defensive coach in the league versus arguably, because Doug Peterson, who came off of his tree, that guy's really good. Matt Nagy, who came off of his tree, that guy's really good too. But arguably, Andy Reid is the best offensive mind in the league still. And you look at what they were able to do, how they started last season with Alex Smith. This team is fantastic. This team is fantastically coached. They have team speed. They have team talent. You look at Tyreek Hill. You look at Kareem Hunt. You look at Travis Kelce. I mean, there's a number of different ways that they can beat you. And they can beat you with 1,000 cuts, but they just as much like to punch you in the face. Right? The Patriots are different. The Patriots don't have stars. They've got Brady. They've got Gronk. That's the end of the stardom list. Sony Michel is running really well for the Patriots, by the way. He ought to be a star. He ought to be a star, but he isn't yet. I think we need to see some, because we're just used to Patriot running backs just being highly interchangeable people. Sony Michel, that guy's talented. That guy's not an interchangeable piece. He's legitimately one of the best running backs that they've had in the last 5 years. Just look at the numbers, right? Like he's really good. And we're just sort of sleeping on Sony Michel like the Patriots don't have a running game. The problem with the Patriots is the Patriots don't have a defense. The issue is defensively, the Patriots defense isn't anywhere near as bad as the Chiefs defense. And the Chiefs are 30th in the league in tackles. No one has more tackles given up, the more tackles broken than them. And the Patriots, despite the fact that they can't cover anybody over the top, the Patriots are first in tackling in the league. So the discipline is there. The technique is there. The Patriots on paper have the edge because their offense is good. Their defense is good. The Patriots are a B- C+ football team. And they are playing the B+, A- Chiefs. But the reason why the Chiefs aren't an A++ is because there are certain things that they don't do well. Right? Like my GPA in high school wasn't great. You want to know why that is? Because I was really good at English. I was fantastic at English. Oh, I loved history. Math. And if you can't do math well, you know what else you can't do well? If you can't do math well, that means you're not doing chemistry well. It means you're not doing physics well, even though I loved physics. The theories, anyway. You're not doing economics well, even though I loved economics. Again, the theories. Well, you're not doing any of that stuff well if you can't do math. I was bad at math. Look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't tackle well. They're 30th in the league in tackling. Tackling in the NFL for a defense is like math. Because you know what you can't do if you can't tackle? You can't cover anybody and keep them out of the end zone. You can't stop the run. You can't stop the pass. You can't protect the middle of the field or the sidelines. If you can't tackle, your defense doesn't work. And sure enough, the bottom quarter of the league in defense, the Kansas City Chiefs. So they need monster games from all of these offensive guys. They do. And I think they're going to get a monster game from one of these guys, but the guy they needed the most from is Pat Mahomes. You don't need a monster game from Brady if you're the Patriots. And that's where the Patriots get to be consistent and where the Patriots get to be contenders year after year after year. The Patriots don't need to have a monster performance on a weekly basis. They have a bunch of average receivers. They've got Gronk. He's great. He's injured a lot. That offensive line, it's okay. Brady gets the ball out of his hands quick, so that helps them really, really well. And then you look at what they are able to do defensively. The Patriots haven't been able to cover anybody really consistently well in 2, maybe even 3 years. But they cover you well enough, and they get enough pressure with those linebackers. They get enough pressure in the front seven to really make you worry. And it's good enough. The Patriots are consistent because the Patriots are good enough. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. You got to stay in the present. I think the reason why people struggle in life is for two reasons. They get too hung up on the past, or they look too far down the road in the future. They look so far ahead in the future, they're not even worried about what's right in front of their face. Right? Be a lot of people texting and driving, trying to make plans on their phones, run into the car in front of them because they're worried about what's about to happen 2 hours from now. Really, you ought to be worrying about the road. That's your number one priority. Don't ever text and drive because you're not looking where it's important. The present is more important. I'm not saying don't think about the future and don't plan for the future. I'm saying prioritize. And that's the problem in Dallas. Dallas has both problems. Dallas is looking backwards and forwards. And Dallas, I bash the Cowboys a lot. I am a Redskins fan, so full disclosure, I don't like the Cowboys, and I enjoy the fact that they are suffering. I mean, no one is enjoying this more than me. I enjoy the fact that the Cowboys are suffering. But I didn't just objectively, as a guy that just likes football, I don't know what Dallas's problem is. Because they've got the best offensive line in football. They've got a solid defense. They've got one of the best running backs in the game. Right? Like, in my opinion, my list of running backs goes Le'Veon Bell. It goes Todd Gurley. It goes Ezekiel Elliott. Those, in my opinion, those are the top three backs in the league. We haven't been able to see that from Zeke. And by the way, Saquon Barkley might take Zeke's spot here soon enough. But we haven't seen that from Zeke this year because Zeke hasn't had any room to run. The offensive line's been banged up. But the Cowboys were looking down the road to the future at Dak Prescott, and I don't think the future's Dak Prescott. You have to fix one of these two problems if you're Dallas, because they've been hanging on to Jason Garrett because they have a track record with Jason Garrett where Jason Garrett hasn't been terrible in his time in Dallas, but he hasn't been good either. So they're looking backwards at Jason Garrett and going, well, we got to keep Jason Garrett happy, right? But they're looking forwards at Dak, and they're not looking in the present where Dak can't seem to read a defense anymore. And Jason Garrett, the play calling is bad. Like, looking down the road and looking back at the same time and not focusing on the present has been a nightmare for the Dallas Cowboys. Nightmare. They've got to figure something out. They've got to either figure out whether Garrett's getting the can or Dak is. And if you ask me, I think you got to can Jason Garrett. I think he's been there long enough to do something, and he hasn't done much. Plus, I think that getting in a coach who's creative, maybe a player's coach, maybe a young guy who is able to have a creative offense, simplify some stuff for Dak a little bit, might revitalize Dak Prescott. I look back at Jared Goff. I look at the Rams. Jared Goff had Jeff Fisher. And I was on the Jared Goff bandwagon coming out of college. And then watched him with Jeff Fisher. And I jumped off the bandwagon. Jumped right off the bandwagon. He looked terrible. I thought he was bad. I think my exact words were Jared Goff is trash, which I take back now. I take all the way back. And if you will just invite me back on the Jared Goff bandwagon, I promise I'll be a nice guy in the future. But I thought Jared Goff was a bust. And then they get Sean McVay in there, and McVay is young, creative, intelligent, and can relate. I don't know if Jason Garrett is having trouble relating to Dak, but I will say this. The creativity is not there. And it's not helping Dak any. Dak is not the guy, apparently, who can look at an NFL defense, decipher it, make the right play calls and changes at the line to help himself out. Sometimes you've got to help out your coach. That's not Dak. And if that's not going to be Dak, then you've got to can Jason Garrett and get somebody who can help him. Sometimes the quarterback helps the coach. Aaron Rodgers has been helping Mike McCarthy for years. But sometimes you need the coach to actually help the quarterback. Jason Garrett is not capable of helping Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott is not capable of helping Jason Garrett. So one of those two guys got to go. And my vote to kick off the island, Jason Garrett. Because he's been there long enough and he's shown us he can't get it done. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. Georgia lost to LSU. Panic button time? Yes or no? Next.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Police made an arrest in an armed robbery case from back in August where reports say a man broke into a storage unit office, threatened a man at the cash register, then made off with a few rolls of pennies before escaping in a Grand Am. Police used fingerprint information to arrest Kerry Williams, who was already in their system. A man was shot and robbed on Bonnie Oaks Drive on Friday morning. The victim told the police he was approached by 4 different men with guns pointed at him who demanded his money. And once he handed it over, they shot him. He was left for dead on the side of the road. A 27-year-old man sits in Hamilton County Jail after a victim says that he burst into his hotel room, stabbed him, stole his watch and money from his shoe. Matthew Scott Cohen and alleged accomplice Shanna Saltzer are both taken into custody. Police say the victim of the stabbing is still in the hospital. The John Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
David Toulis. I made the move 1 o'clock every weekday afternoon, 1 till 3, Nuga Radio.
92.7 Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
For Sunday, more clouds. Can't rely on spotty shower, but not much. Highs back into the 70s, upper 70s Monday. This forecast is brought to you by Glass Farm Nursery. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sorgene Twelve, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ford.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Where to go for lunch today? Go to the Top. The Top of the Hill Country Buffet offers a delicious lunch buffet every day. Golden fried chicken with mashed potatoes from scratch, daily fresh vegetables, a full salad bar with all the fixins, and fresh homemade cobbler. In addition to the buffet, Top of the Hill also offers a full menu. Plus, kids eat for $5 all day. Top of the Hill is located in Ringgold on Remco Shops Lane and is open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Where are you going for lunch? Go to the Top.
I live, work, and play in Chattanooga, the scenic city. But when it comes to my next car, truck, or SUV, I'm Alabama bound. Fort Payne, Alabama, and Landers McClarty Ford. Big city selection of new and pre-owned vehicles with the small town price and friendly service. Now, I'm not knocking my hometown, but when it comes to my next ride, I only go to Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. Their selection is huge. Then if I can't find what I want, they'll find it for me with the same low price, same great service, and only a short drive away. And I can go online to look around before I leave the house. Got that next dream ride in your head yet? Yeah, you do. Get a head start at LandersMcClartyFord@FortPayne.com. Don't just dream it, find it at LandersMcClartyFord@FortPayne.com. That's right, Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne, Alabama.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric, you're our winner. Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio.
92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Listen to that. That's the sound of power and the call of the open road. That's the sound of the newly designed 2019 Indian Chieftain Limited. Yeah, Indian. It's more than a bike. It's an experience and an American icon. The place to find it, Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga, along with their entire new 2019 line. The open road is calling. Answer the call. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign on 153 and Amnicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Join Nuga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships, as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
The kids are back in school, routine has returned, and we've shifted our thoughts to the fast approaching holiday season. Are you hosting? Want to spruce up before your guests arrive? Whether you want new color and exciting wallpaper or elegant window treatments, the designers at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating can help. With brands like York, Tebow, Graber, and Carroll, we know you'll find something you love. Stop by Chattanooga Paint and Decorating today. It's really more than just a paint store. On Hicks and Pike, across from Valvoline, or online at ChattanoogaPaint.com.
Nuga Radio.
Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7.
Nuga Radio.
You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Brought to you small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. We were just talking about teams that are looking forwards and backwards at the same time. Dallas Cowboys. They're looking back at Jason Garrett. They're looking forwards at Dak Prescott. And they're not looking at the present, which is you can't have both of those guys at the same time. You can't look forward and backwards at the same time. Your eyes are on the front of your head. But Dallas is trying to. There's another team in the NFL that is. It's the Giants. The Giants are looking forward to Odell. They're looking backwards at Eli. It's not working. You can't look forwards and backwards at the same time. First off, you really shouldn't be looking too far forward when you have problems right in front of your face. You shouldn't be looking too far backwards when you have problems in front of your face. But to compound it, they're looking in both directions, right? And this is a big problem. So they went ahead and gave Odell the gigantic contract. I think deservedly so. He's the best player on their team. They didn't give Odell the money. Who are they going to give the money? They could keep it and try and sign somebody else in free agency after this year. The Giants thought they were going to be able to win right away. That's fine. So they went and paid Odell the money. You need your playmaker. Can you imagine? We think Eli looks bad now. Can you imagine Eli without Odell? Woo! Woo! Let's talk about rough. Eli without a receiver that can make plays? Right. Because that was going to be fun. Because that was going to be a great time. Eli is the past, though. Now, Eli clearly looks washed up. He clearly looks washed up. And they went and they cut Austin Davis, who they used that third-round draft pick on him a couple of years ago. And Eli's been washed up for a while. The issue that I have is whatever led the Giants to believe that they were in win now mode. And I've been on the forums because I go online and I talk to fans online. I've been on the forums. Giants fans think that Eli should start out the rest of the season because Eli's won 2 Super Bowls. What? Are those 2 Super Bowls going to help you win another Super Bowl? Is that how that works? It's not cumulative. You don't get a chance at another one because you've won in the past. At the beginning of the season, everybody starts 0-0. Your other Super Bowl rings, none of that stuff matters. And Tom Brady once said, someone asked him which Super Bowl is his favorite Super Bowl, and he said the next one. It's the only one that matters. When you're done with your career, you can look back at all of them and go, well, boy, I was great. But until then, Eli and his 2 Super Bowls, he's not good. He's not good. And you've got a number of options out there, a quarterback you can try to move on, I guess. But it ain't Eli. He looks terrible. He looks washed up. He looks punch drunk, gun shy. He looks like a guy who doesn't want to throw the football. Can't. You know what he reminds me of, actually? He reminds me of David Carr. David Carr first got in the league. He was drafted with the number 1 overall pick by the Houston Texans when they were an expansion team back in 2000. And David Carr got beaten to death to the point where you looked at him. He didn't want to throw the ball. Every time he got it, it was a check down. Couldn't go through his progressions. He was waiting for that hit. And this offensive line for the Giants that they dropped a lot of money on. They dropped a lot of money, but it's not any good. The left side's not bad. The right side's terrible. They dropped a lot of money on this line to protect Eli. And some of the sacks are his fault. He holds onto the ball a little bit longer than he should. But a lot of it's them too. But they look towards the future. They drafted Saquon Barkley. They re-signed Odell Beckham. But they did this in a quarterback-driven league. And if they were going to build an offensive line, right, like you think you're in win-now mode, they needed to be working on this offensive line for a while because it's been a problem forever. At least 3 years. They have had one of the worst offensive lines, according to Pro Football Focus, for like the last 3 years. One of the worst. So if you really thought you were win-now mode, why wouldn't you protect your quarterback now? Why would you let your line deteriorate to where you thought, okay, well, we haven't really signed or drafted a left tackle worth anything, so we're going to pony up the money for Nate Solder, who the Patriots didn't want. You never overpay for people that the Patriots don't want. Never. What are you, insane? If the Patriots decide that they don't want a guy, and Nate Solder had problems coming out of college. He never addressed those problems. They never fixed those problems. The Patriots decided they didn't want him. You never overpay for a guy the Patriots don't want. You worry when the Patriots trade a guy to you, and you never overpay for a guy that they don't want. There's a reason why they're releasing that guy. There's a reason. And I'm not saying that Nate Solder's not a good left tackle. He is. But they're paying Nate Solder like he's an elite left tackle. And he's not elite. He's slightly above average. And that whole offensive line looks like it. The anchor of the offensive line looks like he's slightly above average. The best guy on that offensive line is slightly above average. What does that make everybody else? It makes them bad. This is just bad planning because they were looking forward to Odell. And look, you look forward to Odell, you get everything that comes with Odell. Odell decided that he wanted to be a leader. Oh boy. Isn't that fun? And Odell Beckham leads the way that every wide receiver leads. Odell Beckham led by being a diva and talking to the media. In fairness, this has been the formula for every wide receiver ever, save maybe Jerry Rice and Marvin Harrison. And that's because Marvin Harrison just didn't say much. Like that's been the formula. And has been. I don't know why all of a sudden we expected that to be different. Odell Beckham Jr. did not write the book on being a controversial wide receiver. He is simply the millennial version of that. He's millennial T.O. Like everything you didn't like about T.O., you really, really don't like about Odell Beckham Jr. because he's a millennial on top of it. So how's he doing it? He's showing up to an interview with Lil Wayne. To me, that's not the best way to air your dirty laundry for your team. I think you can say something that's not being said in the locker room. There's room for that. I don't think that Odell Beckham Jr. caused any harm to the Giants because they nearly won the game after he came out and did the interview. They scored 31 points, and were it not for an impossibly long 61-yard Graham Gano field goal, they win the game. They scored more points than they did in the last 2 years in that one game. Yeah. It worked. Odell Beckham Jr. attempting to be a leader worked, but it still looks like a circus. So you've got Eli, who's got a different way of leading. You've got Odell, who's got the wide receiver diva millennial way of leading. It's clashing, and it looks bad for the Giants, and then they get thumped on Thursday night. None of this works. None of this works. They have to pick a direction. And if you have to pick a direction, let go of the past. Same thing with the Cowboys. Your future is Dak. Your past is Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett's been there for a number of years. What has he actually accomplished? He lost a playoff game. He showed up to a playoff game against the Packers and he lost it. Was it controversial? Yes, but he still lost. He still lost. And this is the problem. This is the main problem. They've got to figure out what to do. Either Eli or Odell. Either Garrett or Dak. And in both instances, I'm going to take the future. I'm not going to try and overanalyze this and look backwards. Eli's washed up. Jason Garrett hasn't done anything. Let him go. Let him go so that your young guys have a chance so you can build something going forward. You have to. You don't have a choice. Because if you do, you do have a choice. You can keep them both and you can be in this horrible no man's land. Where are the Cowboys and where are the Giants, respectively? They're both at the bottom of the NFC East. That's where they are. The Redskins, who aren't even good, are at the top of the division. The Redskins, who got homicided by the Saints, taken apart by Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. And Drew Brees is great. But Drew Brees broke Peyton Manning's record a whole lot faster than he thought he would because the Redskins are bad at football. And the Redskins are on the top of that division. It's not a good division. The Eagles are underperforming. They're the actual best team in that division. They'll pull it around. The Giants are actually bad because they're trying to be in the future and the past. The Cowboys are actually bad because they're trying to be in the future and the past. You've got to figure out something. You've got to pick a direction and go in it. You do. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM. Clutch with Keon Rose is the show. Want to switch gears here back to college football because Georgia got beaten, just pounded by LSU yesterday. That was the CBS game of the week, and they just got pushed around. They lost 36-16. Didn't have any answers for LSU. So the question here is it time for Georgia to push the panic button? Well, let me quote Aaron Rodgers here. Once upon a time. Once upon a Rodgers. RELAX. Relax. It's not time to push the panic button. There's stuff to worry about. Jake Fromm held on to the ball too long on a number of plays, including one sack where he really could have gotten the momentum back for the Bulldogs. And he also didn't look like he was seeing the defense. Now, part of that was LSU. Their defense was physical and fast, which they've been forever. But now they haven't gotten tired because their quarterback can keep the ball, extend the time of possession, and let them rest on the sideline. And a rested LSU defense is one of the scariest defenses in all of college football. That's what we're learning. So there's reasons to worry if you're Georgia. Fromm wasn't seeing the defense, and plus he was hanging onto the ball way too long. The other thing that if you should worry about if you're Georgia is apparently this is not a good physical football team. That's no good. They got pushed around and they were getting gassed. Usually a team is either finesse or they're tough. They pick one identity and they have it, right? Like the Georgia didn't pick one identity. They picked both bad identities. They were the least physical of the two teams, and they were absolutely unconditioned. They didn't seem ready. And I know it's hard to play in Death Valley, but that's usually at night. Usually the night games at Death Valley are what kills you. They were winded. That's what the LSU players were saying. That's what Joe Burrows, the quarterback of LSU, was saying. They looked gassed. We saw hands on hips. Yeah, once you see that, you just keep the tempo going. Don't let them get off the field. So there's plenty of stuff to worry about if you're Georgia. But here's why you don't worry if you're Georgia. You lost early in the season. You lose late in the season, the committee's not even going to look at you. The committee is not even going to look at you. You lose early in the year, You get it out of your system, and you have a chance to rebuild that resume. You do. So that's the good news. And Georgia did this last year. That's the other bit of good news. This is why you got to relax. Last year, Georgia was ranked number 2. They were playing Auburn around this time of year, right in October. Auburn beat them 40-17. 40-17. When Georgia loses, man, Georgia likes to lose big. That's what I've learned. When Georgia loses in the regular season, Georgia likes to lose big. But LSU, or check that. LSU did a lot of things to Georgia that Georgia needs to address. They do have problems. It's not perfect, but is it time to panic if you're a Georgia fan? Oh no, the sky is falling. We're not going to make the playoff. You can do it still. It's tough. It is going to be tougher this year than it was last year because of Notre Dame. And is the committee going to allow a team that didn't win the title game, the conference title game, in? And is the committee going to allow 2 SEC teams in and the non-conference Fighting Irish into the college football playoff? Because financially speaking, all right, I'm not going all X-Files on you. I'm not going conspiracy theorist. I'm not being crazy here. But financially, you want as many conferences involved in this thing as humanly possible. You want an ACC and a Big Ten and an SEC and a Pac-12 or a Big 12 team. You've got 5 power conferences. You've got 4 playoff spots. And then you've got Notre Dame, who's not in a conference. If Notre Dame takes a spot, then just logistically, does the committee look around and go, a team that won a conference is better than the team that finished second in a conference, even if that conference is the SEC? Because what we're learning in the SEC is the SEC is starting to get back to the point where all these teams are capable of beating all these teams. Like Florida is capable of beating anybody on any Saturday. LSU is starting to look like they can beat anybody on any Saturday if they play well. That's what they're starting to look like. So I don't know. And also, if you're an LSU fan, you look at your season and you go, well, you could be number 5 in the country as early as tomorrow. You were ranked 13. And that's clearly too low. This LSU team is good. And that Florida team that they lost to is also good. So what we're discovering about these schools is that they're beating each other up. It's very possible that you could have as many as 2 SEC teams in the playoff, but it's also possible you could just have Alabama because everyone else is going to beat up everyone else. And God forbid LSU do something like surprise the Crimson Tide, which is possible, by the way. That's not even a hot take at this point. Really, we saw what happened with Alabama. They were a little bit shaky yesterday because Tua got knocked pretty hard. So, I mean, it's possible to take that guy out of a game and then you turn Alabama into Alabama of old, which is still incredibly hard to beat, but LSU of all the teams has a chance. So, I mean, you're looking at a situation now with LSU where you've got a bona fide defense, you're tough to beat at home, your quarterback is the real deal. Transfer from Ohio State. What do we know about Ohio State? They like mobile quarterbacks with strong arms. Well, Joe Burrow checks both of those boxes. I mean, look at Dwayne Haskins up in Ohio State right now. Joe Burrows couldn't beat out that guy, but that doesn't mean he's not good. He showed he's got mobility, versatility. He's got the big game gene. He's a bit of a gunslinger, but I don't see that as a problem. You need that. You need that. You can't let it beat you, but you need it. So you're an LSU Tiger fan. You have every reason to believe you could make the playoff. Because Georgia looks beatable now. Georgia can be beaten by a couple of teams on their schedule that they have left. Like, they look mortal. And that's the last thing you want to show in an SEC East with some teams that are trying to resurge. They looked mortal yesterday, and I mean, LSU, talk about Ed Orgeron. Ed Orgeron, and I always thought this. People thought Ed Orgeron was going to get fired at the end of this year, and I was confused by this. Ed Orgeron is, simply put, the most LSU man that ever lived. And when he got that job, people thought, we're wondering, how long can he keep it? Ed Orgeron has no intentions of giving this job back. Let me say that again. Ed Orgeron has zero intentions of ever giving this job back. The Tigers yesterday were 4 for 4 on fourth downs. They wouldn't let Georgia off the field. That is the most aggressive. They had faith in the offense. How about Ed O? How about him, man? This guy's going for it on fourth down, not once, not 2 times, not 3 times, 4 times. And you talk about a guy with stones. Ed Orgeron's not giving away wins. And if you can't stop LSU on fourth down, you're toast, because they love to run the football. They have a lead and you can't stop them on fourth, on third. You know what they're going to do? Run the clock out. I love that kind of aggressive play calling. I love it. Rather than be conservative and let you dictate the terms of your own comeback, we're going to keep you off the field. We're not going to make mistakes, and we're going to keep you off the field. That's what LSU did, and that's why they were able to beat up Georgia yesterday. LSU is legitimate, but if you were a Georgia Bulldogs fan, R-E-L-A. New Radio 92.7 FM.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Police made an arrest in an armed robbery case from back in August where reports say a man broke into a storage unit office, threatened a man at the cash register, then made off with a few rolls of pennies before escaping in a Grand Am. Police used fingerprint information to arrest Kerry Williams, who was already in their system. A man was shot and robbed on Bonnie Oaks Drive on Friday morning. The victim told the police he was approached by 4 different men with guns pointed at him who demanded his money. And once he handed it over, they shot him. He was left for dead on the side of the road. A 27-year-old man sits in Hamilton County Jail after a victim says that he burst into his hotel room, stabbed him, stole his watch and money from his shoe. Matthew Scott Cohen and alleged accomplice Shanna Saltzer are both taken into custody. Police say the victim of the stabbing is still in the hospital. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7. Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
For Sunday, more clouds, can rely on spotty shower, but not much. Highs back into the 70s, upper 70s Monday. This forecast is brought to you by Glass Farm Nursery. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Sorgene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick for
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Your home is a constant work in progress. Repaint the walls? Yeah, easy enough. Leaky faucet? There's a video for that. But roof repair? You might want some help. That's where Chattanooga Roofing Contractors come in. They have 3 generations of roofing excellence you can count on. Leave the ladder in the garage. Go to chatroofing.com. That's chatroofing.com for Chattanooga Roofing Contractors, a roofing company you can trust.
My ex recently hacked my email and my social media, and it really caused me some problems. I changed all my passwords, which helped, but I'm still getting trolled, maybe even stalked. I know it's him. I just can't prove it.
My business, well, it's been broken into twice already. I've got cameras, but that only helps after the fact. I'd rather prevent it from happening in the first place.
Unity One East is your solution to these and many other security concerns. With private investigation, security services, and backed by decades of real-life experience in military and law enforcement, Unity One East is your instant contact for security, investigation, and consultation to help protect you, your family, and your business. No 1-800 number, no red tape, no wait, because Unity One East is local and available 24/7. Reclaim your peace of mind. Call Unity One East, 475-6206, 475-6206.
Whether you have marginal, moderate, or even extensive hair loss, you don't have to live with it. Finally, there's a procedure that becomes a part of you, and it requires no daily maintenance or special care. Let Apollo Hair Systems give you a free hair and scalp analysis today. Call 423-803-1011 and schedule this free evaluation today. Open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Apollo Hair Systems, 5512 Ringgold Road in Chattanooga. 423-803-1011 for Apollo Hair Systems. It's that time of year again. For the 7th year, Wings Over North Georgia Air Show will be Saturday, October the 13th, and Sunday, October the 14th. You'll see some of our government's finest assets flying in the world today. The rarely seen Air Combat F-22 Raptor demo team and the A-10 Warthog will both headline the show, along with Tora Tora Tora, which is the reenactment of Pearl Harbor to include pyrotechnics. Patty Wagstaff and Michael Goulian, both world aerobatic champions, will be showing off their amazing skills, along with numerous other aviation rock stars.
WPLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga.
Serving Chattanooga.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, the Tennessee Valley's most listened to news talk station.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Quicken Loans.
I'm Wendy Gillette. President Trump says he wants to visit Florida's Panhandle this week, devastated by Hurricane Michael. Florida Senator Marco Rubio spoke on CBS's Face the Nation.
Right now, it's literally neighbors helping neighbors up there, but sometimes these neighbors are separated from each other by acres upon acres of distance. And I'm deeply worried about it.
The death toll has risen to 19. Those who rode out the storm have immediate needs: power, gas, food, and water.
I'm Peter King in Tallahassee. Rick Miner was worried. The executive director of the Second Harvest Food Bank here wasn't sure that he'd have enough volunteers and trucks to take supplies to the hardest hit areas.
We had enough spots for 52 trucks. I think we have more than 100 trucks here. We're having to turn trucks away.
They're headed to churches in the hardest hit areas, and they're likely to come as a surprise. With cell service mostly out, people on the receiving end don't know this convoy is coming.
More than 450,000 customers in 6 states are still without power. Germany, France, and Britain issue a joint statement demanding a credible investigation to determine what happened to missing Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Turkish officials say Khashoggi was murdered inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. CBS News senior national security contributor and former CIA deputy director Michael Morell says it's imperative to get to the bottom of what happened.
We simply can't let any country in the world, friend, foe, ally, partner, get away with something like this. But we have to find out with confidence what happened inside that consulate.
White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow spoke on Fox about the state of the economy. He says the markets dropping big as they did last week is just normal correction. He also defended President Trump, who criticized the Federal Reserve for its interest rate hikes.
He never said to the Fed, change. I want you to change this or I want you to change that. He respects the Fed's independence.
The bodies of 5 South Korean climbers and their 4 Nepali guides have been brought down from their base camp in the Himalayas. They were killed when a storm roared through. Pope Francis presided over the canonization of 7 people. CBS's Sabina Castelfranco reports from Rome.
In a ceremony attended by tens of thousands of faithful in St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis elevated to sainthood 7 people, including Pope Paul VI and Salvadoran Archbishop Oscar Romero. Both were highly contested figures. Paul VI was Pope during the conclusions of the Second Vatican Council, which modernized the Church in the 1960s. Romero was shot by a right-wing death squad in 1980. Sabina Castelfranco, CBS News, Rome.
This is CBS News.
National mortgage lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Licensed in all 50 states, equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
No matter how modern your family might be, if you're pedaling around bedrock in a gas engine vehicle, you're living in the past.
Meet George Jetson.
The era of the electric vehicle has arrived. With instant acceleration, electric cars are more fun to drive and more affordable than ever. Electric cars are here. Plug in to the present. Learn more at plugintothepresent.com. Sponsored by Volkswagen Group of America.
This flu season, one Walgreens flu shot can make a world of difference. So you can protect yourself and also your close-talking coworkers, high-fiving neighbors, 2-month-old niece. That's why Walgreens has specially trained pharmacists that have provided over 60 million flu shots since 2010. Stop by for your flu shot today with a $0 copay with most insurance. Because protecting the world starts with protecting yours. Walgreens, trusted since 1901. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
PSE&G may shut off the power to millions in Northern California. KPIX-TV's Betty Yu reports.
The utility says it could cut power in extreme fire risk areas. That includes portions of Alameda, Napa, Sonoma, and Lake counties, along with 9 other counties along the Central Sierra. In a statement, the utility said, the safety of our customers and the communities we serve is PG&E's top priority. We know how much our customers rely on electric service and would only consider temporarily turning off power in the interest of safety and as a last resort.
Senator Chuck Schumer says more needs to be done to investigate limo safety. He says the National Transportation Safety Board has not investigated any limo crashes in the past 3 years, even though the agency agreed to do so on a case-by-case basis after a limo accident killed 4 women in New York in 2015. The horrific limo crash last weekend has thrust the issue back under the microscope.
3, 2, Chattanooga Radio, Digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Police made an arrest in an armed robbery case from back in August where reports say a man broke into a storage unit office, threatened a man at the cash register, then made off with a few rolls of pennies before escaping in a Grand Am. Police used fingerprint information to arrest Kerry Williams, who was already in their system. A man was shot and robbed on Bonnie Oaks Drive on Friday morning. The victim told the police he was approached by 4 different men with guns pointed at him who demanded his money. And once he handed it over, they shot him. He was left for dead on the side of the road. A 27-year-old man sits in Hamilton County Jail after a victim says that he burst into his hotel room, stabbed him, stole his watch and money from his shoe. Matthew Scott Cohen and alleged accomplice Shanna Saltz are both taken into custody. Police say the victim of the stabbing is still in the hospital. The Sean Hannity Show weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Chattanooga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
For Sunday, more clouds, Carolina spotty shower, but not much. Highs back into the 70s, upper 70s Monday. This forecast is brought to you by Glass Farm Nursery. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Swargene 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
We just started a family and we're already planning for the future. Michael Levy has helped pave the way to keep our financial future on track. He's local, he knows us, and cares about what's important to us. Don't put your future on hold. Call Michael Levy, 779-7755.
I'm Bo Watson, and I approve this ad. Neighbors, I'm your state senator, Bo Watson. Jobs, education, safety. These were my priorities when I first ran for office, and they continue to be my focus. We've made great progress in Tennessee the past 4 years. Let's keep it going. Believe in Tennessee. Vote Bo in November. Paid for by friends of Bo Watson, Boy W. Watson III, Treasurer, votefortennessee.com.
Nooga Radio 92.7.
small part of it. You know that I appreciate you. So Auburn went ahead and lost to Tennessee on Saturday. Just went ahead and made that happen. And Nick called it. Auburn didn't look good. And I wasn't sure if Tennessee could have beaten Auburn, but when we were doing the picks yesterday, I definitely picked Tennessee to cover because Auburn is having trouble scoring. And a lot of their trouble scoring has come from the fact that they can't run the football. And we all should have realized this sooner. Like, did we have unrealistic expectations of Auburn? And when you look at it in hindsight, and hindsight is 2020, so you'd have to be careful with that. But when you look at it in hindsight, I think you can say we did have unrealistic expectations of Auburn based on what they did last year. But they don't have Keon Johnson, and they don't have other pieces in their running game that they had previously. And so when you look at their ability to run the football, it's decreased over the years. When Gus Malzahn took over this team, initially, they ranked anywhere between 4th and 17th in the nation rushing the football. That's fantastic. They're on pace to be 82nd this season. So it's clear they can't run. They're averaging an abysmal 4.18 yards a carry. And if you can't run in a Gus Malzahn offense, it doesn't work. One of two people has to be able to run. Either the running back is a big part of this game or the quarterback can run. And Jarrett Stidham's got a little bit of wheels, a little bit, but certainly not enough to say he's running. You can't run Jarrett Stidham the same way you could run Cam. And the running back situation is as bad for Auburn as it's ever been. How is this possible? That's what I want to know. You're Gus Malzahn. You know what your offense does. It's not a secret to you. You know you need a running back. Why don't you have one? Why weren't you replenishing the pantry? Why weren't you restocking? How is it possible that you have a team that can't run and the entirety of your offense? And Gus Malzahn's a brilliant offensive mind. I don't think he's overrated in that respect. But how is it that your offense is which is predicated on the run, you don't have a running back? You don't have a running quarterback. You have a pro-style passing quarterback in Jarrett Stidham, who has been playing pretty well with what he's been given. But a lot of what he's running are play action fakes that nobody believes. Look at what Tennessee did yesterday. Tennessee played a team. They used a lot of play action fakes, a lot of fakery, and nobody believed it. Tennessee at no point in this game found themselves deceived by any RPOs because you don't believe that Auburn can actually run the football. The passing game works off of the running game in the Gus Malzahn offense. How do you not have running backs? How do you not have any kind of rushing potential? I mean, my gosh, work in some jet sweeps, something. Gus Malzahn's not going to make it to the end of this year. This isn't even the hard part of their schedule. It's not. The Tennessee, when we went through the schedule at the beginning of the season and we said, well, what games can Tennessee win? I distinctly remember going through the part of the schedule that was Georgia and Auburn and Bama and going, Tennessee loses 3 in a row easily right here. That was easily a penciled in win. And Tennessee is playing harder. They're playing smarter. They look and appear to be better coached. Jeremy Pruitt is a miles better coach than Butch Jones, and it's so obvious. But this isn't a much more talented team. The Tennessee didn't suddenly gain talent. Auburn should still beat them. Auburn's still, on paper, the better football team. But guess what? You're not going to beat anybody. You're not going to beat anybody if nobody believes you can run, right? I'll take a look here at the schedule. We'll grab the skid. Yeah, I'm never using that word again, by the way. It's supposed to be SCED, as short for schedule. And if I ever say that again, would one of you kindly punch me in the face, please? But let's look at the schedule, though, for for Auburn after Tennessee. They play Ole Miss, which they can win, but at this point, that's no gimme. Then they play A&M on November 3rd after their bye week. Then they play Georgia. Then they get a nice little easy game in Liberty before they end the season with Bama. 3 out of the last 5 games of the year, that's a nightmare for them. Now, Auburn's toast. Like, Auburn is a panic button team. They do need to hit the panic button. It's one thing to lose to LSU. LSU's been good this season. That's a loss to a quality football team. That's a loss to a team that is defensively omnipresent. That's a loss to a team that now has a quarterback who can throw the ball and run, giving them a lot of versatility and a lot of creative play calling, and a team that's very aggressive. That is a quality loss. You don't want losses, but if you have to take a loss to LSU. You can't lose to Tennessee. And I know that Jeremy Pruitt is doing his thing and transforming that program and making them something special. I'm looking forward to Tennessee in the next couple of years here. But Tennessee's not there yet. And they're still stuck with some of the talent that the other guy brought in. How do you lose to Tennessee if you're Auburn? And the better question is, how do you lose to Tennessee if you're Gus Malzahn and still keep your job? The answer to that question, by the way, is you don't. You don't still keep your job, because we've seen it now. We've seen every version of a Gus Malzahn letdown that can possibly be seen. What else is there left to learn? Yeah, sure. Every now and then on an odd-numbered year, Gus Malzahn can lead a team to a surprisingly good season. Cool. But he hasn't been good. He hasn't been consistent. His letdown years aren't kind of bad. A Gus Malzahn letdown year tends to be devastating. And the reason why it's devastating is not necessarily that they're terrible. It's devastating because usually they're in contention. They're considered to be a contender. And then they wind up looking miserable. They lose to teams that they ought not to lose to ever. The Auburn's fallen apart. And then, of course, you hear the stories about how Gus Malzahn has completely lost that locker room. You've got players on the team upset with Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback. And Jarrett Stidham, I don't know if you've ever seen Jarrett Stidham in like an interview or anything, but Jarrett Stidham is a very upbeat guy. And his teammates don't seem to think that he's taking the game seriously, which is unfair, right? Like, because you get criticized either way. Either you're Aaron Rodgers and you're Jay Cutler, you take the game very seriously, but you're kind of mean. You know, you're a little bit of a jerk. Or you're Jarrett Stidham, you're Baker Mayfield, you're upbeat, you're hype guy, and people don't think you take the game seriously enough. There's no middle ground there. It's either you don't care or you care. And honestly, that's so unfair. That's so unfair. Like, why would you believe that Jarrett Stidham doesn't care? What, because he chose to be upbeat after a loss? That's better than being all woe is me, giving up on the season. Let the play on the field speak for itself. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. The show is Clutch with Keon Rose. The Pittsburgh Steelers bother me. And specifically, Ben Roethlisberger bothers me. Ben Roethlisberger bothers me because Le'Veon Bell said that he was coming back to the team during the bye week. And James Conner has been the running back in his place. And Ben Roethlisberger said that he was going to advocate for James Conner to get more carries instead of Le'Veon Bell when Le'Veon Bell gets back. So essentially, he's advocating for Le'Veon Bell to get less carries because mathematically, unless Ben is advocating for himself to throw less, that is what he would be saying. That the guy who's been my featured back my entire time here, I don't mind if he has less carries. Now, people have been saying James Conner has earned it. He's been great. And I went and looked at the numbers of James Conner. James Conner has had 2 good games. Not great, good. Right? Like the most he's rushed for this season is 136 yards. And it's impressive. But James Conner has overwhelmingly been okay. He's been okay. And I'm not advocating for okay over great, which I know Le'Veon Bell is. I know he's great. But I'm not advocating for less carries for Le'Veon Bell. And certainly, if I am, which would just be messed up, I'm not saying it to the media. Here's the thing. Nobody asked Ben Roethlisberger about that. This wasn't a situation where someone asked him who he would rather have more carries. Unprompted, Big Ben said that. And a lot of the stuff that Big Ben says is unprompted. And I'm going to criticize Big Ben for being a diva because we do it with wide receivers all the time. We don't mind calling out a wide receiver for being a diva. We don't mind saying to Keyshawn Johnson, Terrell Owens, Odell Beckham, you're a diva. But we have trouble saying this about quarterbacks. Part of it is that quarterbacks usually aren't divas. Look at even the young guys in the league, Deshaun Watson, Pat Mahomes, Jared Goff. Those guys aren't divas. Aaron Rodgers, not a diva. Moody, maybe, not a diva. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those guys are professionals. Peyton Manning, professional. Phillip Rivers sounds like the most Texas man I've ever heard, and he swears like a sailor, but he's not a diva. He's pretty upfront, pretty honest. He's not a diva. Big Ben is a diva. Big Ben causes drama in his own locker room. Big Ben, without anybody asking him, openly ponders retirement. Big Ben criticizes a guy trying to make sure he has a guaranteed deal. He holds out because he's trying to make sure he has a guaranteed deal. And I'm saying, he's just doing things you don't do. You don't talk about another guy's touches, another guy's carries, because you're affecting that guy's ability to play. You don't talk about another guy's money. You leave the money out of it. You never talk about somebody else's money. Big Ben's talking about Le'Veon Bell's money, and he's talking about his touches like it doesn't matter. And Big Ben he's 15 years in the league now? He's been in the league long enough to where Big Ben Roethlisberger ought to know, I don't have these conversations to the media. Because if I'm starting to have these conversations in the media, then we should have some conversations with Big Ben. Like, okay, I look at Tom Brady. I don't know where the money's going. Somebody needs to investigate the Patriots for fraud. Because Tom Brady is taking pay cuts so that team can have talent around him, and the best that they've managed to have outside of Gronk is like Danny Amendola. Right? Hogan. Is it Ben Hogan? I don't even remember his first name. These are the people that the Patriots have managed to get with the pay cuts that Tom Brady is giving them. I noticed that Big Ben's not taking any pay cuts. Well, if you're all about winning, and you're all about the team, and you're all about you should show up to camp regardless of what your financial situation is, why don't you take the pay cut so they can pay the running back? Why don't you do it? But he won't. He won't do it. He likes getting paid, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. If you like getting paid and you like making your money, you keep somebody else's money out of your mouth. You do it. You have to. Like that. It's just professional. Like I don't go around my job asking people, how much do you get paid? That's rude. That's just basic. Like if there's somebody that you can confide in and you trust a little bit and you just want to know what they're making, but we're certainly not talking to the media about it. Why is that any of their business? Big Ben's a diva. He likes drama. He enjoys it. Makes him happy. People talk about how Mike Tomlin's lost that locker room. First off, no. The Steelers are still... They've been competing and contending through all of this. If Mike Tomlin had lost this locker room, they had social media stuff last year with Antonio Brown filming himself on Facebook during a team meeting. Mike Tomlin, you could very well argue, never had this locker room. That's not his coaching style. His coaching style is not to have the locker room. He just needs his guys to show up and execute on game day, which they do. Big Ben liking drama has got nothing to do with Mike Tomlin. That's got everything to do with Big Ben just liking drama. He just enjoys it. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Can the Browns win back-to-back games? They are playing the Chargers today. And gosh, I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers are so good. But the Browns have a great defense. The Browns have one of the best defenses, and we got a call coming in. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Keon, it's Mike Steele. We are live at the Wings over North Georgia. And I had to sneak in the Hummer because it's so loud out here. But the festivities got underway at noon. We'll be here all day today. Raptors showing up at about 4. And, boy, you should see the warbirds on the ground, Keon. If you get a chance, man, we want to see you out here because a couple of people were asking about you yesterday. So we have to get your headshot and, I guess, an autograph. Ooh.
Oh.
Aren't we getting big in Chattanooga? Out here at the Wings over North Georgia Russell B. Regional Airport, where it was packed yesterday. And, man, the shows were fantastic. A-10 Warthog is here, along with the Raptor, lots of warbirds on the ground, the C-117 Huey, the Cobra. It is an awesome, awesome show. And coming up in a couple of hours, Keon, the reenactment was unbelievable yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Tour. The attack at Pearl Harbor, the bombs exploding on the ground, and 0 replicas that were used in the actual movie are here in North Georgia. And they're going to be reenacting that in a couple of hours. So come on by Wings over North Georgia live. We are at Rome, Georgia, Russell B. Regional Airport. Nuga Radio 92.7.
Thanks, Mike. So they're over at the Russell B. Regional Airport in Rome, Georgia, for the Wings over North Georgia. That's going on until 4, he said. Well, it's noon, you guys. You can still make it over there while you're listening to me. You can hustle on down to Rome, Georgia, and enjoy war reenactments with actual planes and jets that are used in war. I mean, you could talk to Russell Stroud, our news director, about it. He was hoping to ride in the Huey yesterday, so I'll ask him about that later. But yeah, look, it's a fun deal. It's really cool. It's something that happens every year. We cover it every year. The Wings over North Georgia. I am a fan of jets. I had a book when I was a kid of just planes, military vehicles in general, but I always loved the jets. And my favorite jet was the F-16C Fighting Falcon when I was a kid. That's my favorite one. My favorite jet would not be an actual human being playing for the New York Jets because they are awful. But I do like Darnold. But yeah. So to my point about Baker Mayfield and the Browns they lead the NFL in takeaways. 15 takeaways so far this season. They are arguably a top 5 defense in the league. I would say top 3 even, just with the way that they've been playing, the way that they've built this defense up. They built it around Myles Garrett and Jabril Peppers and Denzel Ward. I mean, these are amazing talents, and a lot of credit, by the way, to Denzel Ward, who is a rookie, but my gosh, he is balling out. And I'm a big fan of the way this defense plays. They also run the ball very well. But I've heard that used as a reason to take credit away from Baker Mayfield and what he's doing. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions so far this season. How great is Baker Mayfield? They run the ball. They play great defense. And does that mean that Baker Mayfield is any good? Yeah, it does actually. The Browns' calling card for the last 2 seasons under Hugh Jackson has been great defense and running the football. That's been their identity. And you know how many games they won in the last 2 seasons before Baker got there? 1. You know how many games they've won with Baker? 2. But will the Browns beat the Chargers? I'm going to give you my picks next. But from Keon Rose on News Radio 92.7 FM.
Traffic, news, and information. Nuga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Police made an arrest in an armed robbery case from back in August where reports say a man broke into a storage unit office, threatened a man at the cash register, then made off with a few rolls of pennies before escaping in a Grand Am. Police used fingerprint information to arrest Kerry Williams, who was already in their system. A man was shot and robbed on Bonnie Oaks Drive on Friday morning. The victim told the police he was approached by 4 different men with guns pointed at him who demanded his money. And once he handed it over, they shot him. He was left for dead on the side of the road. A 27-year-old man sits in Hamilton County Jail after a victim says that he burst into his hotel room, stabbed him, stole his watch and money from his shoe. Matthew Scott Cohen and alleged accomplice Shanna Saltz are both taken into custody. Police say the victim of the stabbing is still in the hospital. The John Hannity Show weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nuga Radio News Talk 92.7 Action News now.
David Tulis. I made the move 1 o'clock every weekday afternoon, 1 till 3, Nuga Radio.
92.7 Nuga Radio, Chattanooga weather.
For Sunday, more clouds, can realize spotty shower, but not much. Highs back into the 70s, upper 70s Monday. This forecast is brought to you by Glass Farm Nursery. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. Open daily, closed Sundays, now with a big selection of pansies, violas, and first quality 8-inch mums. That's Glass Farm Nursery, Highway 11, 4 miles south of Trenton. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Moore.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Where to go for lunch today? Go to the Top. The Top of the Hill Country Buffet offers a delicious lunch buffet every day. Golden fried chicken with mashed potatoes from scratch, daily fresh vegetables, a full salad bar with all the fixins, and fresh homemade cobbler. In addition to the buffet, Top of the Hill also offers a full menu. Plus, kids eat for $5 all day. Top of the Hill is located in Ringgold on Remco Shops Lane and is open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Where are you going for lunch? Go to the Top.
I live, work, and play in Chattanooga, the scenic city. But when it comes to my next car, truck, or SUV, I'm Alabama bound. Fort Payne, Alabama, and Landers McClarty Ford. Big city selection of new and pre-owned vehicles with the small town price and friendly service. No, I'm not knocking my hometown, but when it comes to my next ride, I only go to Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. Their selection is huge. Then if I can't find what I want, they'll find it for me with the same low price, same great service, and only a short drive away. And I can go online to look around before I leave the house. Got that next dream ride in your head yet? Yeah, you do. Get a head start at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. Don't just dream it, find it at Landers McClarty Ford of FortPayne.com. That's right, Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne, Alabama.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Hello? Who am I speaking with? Eric, you're our winner.
Really?
You'll receive tickets for all 3 races between the Camping World Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Monster Energy Cup races.
Holy cow.
In addition, you'll receive a 2-night stay at the Microtel Hotel and restaurant accommodations at 2 area restaurants.
Nuga Radio.
Roar into Talladega.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Your NASCAR racing station. Nuga Radio 92.7 FM.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
Listen to that. That's the sound of power and the call of the open road. That's the sound of the newly designed 2019 Indian Chieftain Limited. Yeah, Indian. It's more than a bike. It's an experience and an American icon. The place to find it, Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga, along with their entire new 2019 line. The open road is calling. Answer the call. Go to Indian Motorcycle of Chattanooga. Just look for the sign on 153 and Amnicola. Indian Motorcycle, the true American original.
Join Nuga Radio and the Gridiron Gang live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks at 10 North on the North Shore. We're talking all things high school football. There's a specialty brew or refresher weekly inspired by the game of the week. Sweet treats, extended hours all season long, and we're pet friendly. Portions of all proceeds support local schools and educational scholarships as well as after-school programs. It's football time in Tennessee. Join us every Thursday live from 7 to 9 at Starbucks, 10 North, your North Shore neighborhood living room.
The kids are back in school, routine has returned, and we've shifted our thoughts to the fast approaching holiday season. Are you hosting? Want to spruce up before your guests arrive? Whether you want new color and exciting wallpaper or elegant window treatments, the designers at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating can help. With brands like York, Tebow, Graber, and Carroll, we know you'll find something you love. Stop by Chattanooga Paint and Decorating today. It's really more than just a paint store. On Hicks and Pike, across from Valvoline, or online at ChattanoogaPaint.com.
Nuga Radio. Are you brain dead? Still voting for pathetic liberals? Take 3 hours of Sean Hannity from 3 to 6.
Nuga Radio.
Then call us in the morning between 9 and 11.
92.7
Nuga Radio.
You're listening to all new Nuga Radio, NugaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. Remember, today is the final day of Wings over Georgia. It's in North Georgia in Rome, and that is at the Russell B. Regional Airport. They've got all kinds of jets, planes, helicopters, every kind of military aircraft you can think of, and they're showing them off. They have fantastic reenactments. You know, F-22 Raptors down there, F-16s out there. That's my favorite, just growing up as a kid. So, yeah, all of those things are out there. Make sure you head on down there. That's going to be over today at 4. So you've got until 4 to go out. Take your family, take the kids. I'm sure it's cool. I know a lot of you very patriotic. That's a way to sort of see what at least one branch of our armed service does for us in terms of protecting us. Get on out there and see it. Have some fun. That is in Rome, Georgia, the Russell B. Regional Airport. Wings over Georgia is the event. So this is the final segment of the show. So we're going to get into these picks here. I don't know why it's important to me to do all the picks, but I do all the picks except for the Thursday night game the following week. I always just react to the Thursday night game. I'm not super duper interested in trying to figure out what's going on next week because that's just my setup on my computer. That's all it is. So the first game is a game that involves my Washington Redskins playing the Carolina Panthers. That game is a 1 o'clock game. The first of the 1 o'clock games, at least in the CBS lineup. And yeah, here's the thing. The Redskins are an up and down team. This is because they have an up and down coach. Jay Gruden is the ultimate 500 coach. As of the recording of this show, Jay Gruden is 17, 18, and 1 since he's been a head coach of the Washington Redskins. And if he were to win today, he'd be 18, 18, and 1. It would make perfect sense for Jay Gruden and the Redskins to have another up game after getting embarrassed by the Saints. Cam Newton is not the passer that Drew Brees is, obviously. I think there's less to be afraid of there. They're 1-point favorites, according to Vegas. They're at home. The Panthers are starting to get going, though. The Panthers look really good. I'm still going to take the Redskins because I believe the Redskins can more easily exploit what the Panthers do. But here's the fact. This one's a pickup. That's the reason why it's a 1-point game. I'm going to go with the Skins and just be a homer about it. But I'm not 100% confident. Cam is completing 65% of his passes. He's got a 97 passer rating in the red zone. Like this is as good as that guy's ever been in terms of red zone efficiency. So when I look at the Panthers and I look at what Christian McCaffrey and Norv Turner's doing, using him as an added dimension, they scare me. But the Redskins have a solid upfront defense. That front seven is legitimate, even though Josh Norman's been underperforming. And at safety, they still have their questions and struggles. But if they're able to run the football, I think they can beat Carolina. Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Atlanta's a 3-point favorite at home. They're 1-4. Both of these teams are trying to stop losing streaks. Tampa Bay's trying to stop a 2-game streak. Atlanta's trying to stop a 3-game streak. And this is the game that Atlanta stops it. Tampa Bay's not good enough. I know Jameis Winston's coming back, but Jameis, I think he's gonna take some time to get back in the rhythm of an NFL offense after missing all of that time. Furthermore, Jameis wasn't playing that great before. So I'm not going to go ahead and put all my faith in Jameis Winston. The Falcons are missing Devontae Freeman. That's the only thing that really worries me about Atlanta. They're still much better than Tampa Bay overall, and they're at home in that new dome. I'm going to take Atlanta at home. Seattle and Oakland. Oakland is at home. Seattle is the 3-point favorite, though I cannot tell you why. Well, I can't tell you why. I can tell you that that Oakland has got a lot of issues rushing the passer, and Russell Wilson might have some relief finally with that offensive line that's absolutely dreadful. And, you know, he has been dynamic. That offense has been dynamic. Seattle has been dynamic. Here's why Oakland wins this game, though. Oakland is able to score more points, and this Seattle defense is not elite anymore. It's barely passable. It's a passable defense. They stop people in a lot of different ways, but one thing that they struggle to do very often is really stop people from getting into the end zone, especially in the red zone. They can slow you down, but when it comes to red zone efficiency, that defense is not particularly good, and Oakland has been playing at least high-powered offensive football as of late. I'll take the Raiders at home. The Cardinals and the Vikings are playing next, and the Vikings are the home team. I'm going to take a lot of home teams here. I am going to take the Vikings in this game. Josh Rosen looked really good in his first NFL start, but Kirk Cousins has looked really good with the weapons that he's had in Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is, to me, a top 5 defense in the league. I have them at 5. And look, Arizona's just plain not good. Not good. David Johnson is a great running back. Josh Rosen looks like he's the real deal at quarterback. But the fact of the matter is this: that defense can be scored on by you, me, and like 9 of your friends. And that's really what it is. That defense is ridiculously bad. And Minnesota's just got too many weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Next, the Colts visit the Jets in New York. I'm taking the Colts. Andrew Luck has been playing well this season. Not that you're going to be able to tell from the way that they've been unable to finish drives at times, and not that you're going to be able to tell from even the way that they've played defensively. It's been a struggle for the Indianapolis Colts, but the Jets aren't good enough yet to beat them. Sam Darnold's going to have another good game, but Sam Darnold is essentially more gunslinger Andrew Luck with less experience. How is young Andrew Luck going to beat old Andrew Luck? Answer me that question. The first road team I think I'm taking today, Indianapolis winning in the Meadowlands in New York. The Bears visiting Miami and the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been surprisingly good. They are 7-point dogs to Chicago. But here's the thing. Khalil Mack is averaging a sack and a forced fumble through 6 weeks of this season. Obviously, that's not sustainable, but he is a hard guy to keep out of the backfield. Obviously, John Gruden made a mistake with the Raiders. And is Mitchell Trubisky the greatest quarterback ever? No. He's a good quarterback. I think his ceiling is good. But Matt Nagy is getting him as close to good as you can get just through sheer scheme. One of these days, Trubisky's going to figure it all out, and he'll be able to lead this team. I do think that this is a draft pick that can pan out for them ultimately long term because of Nagy and what he's able to do to get the most out of Trubisky. Trubisky and the Bears offensively more creative and better, defensively much stronger than the Dolphins. They beat Miami on the road. The LA Chargers visit the Cleveland Browns. I just talked about Baker Mayfield. I do think Baker is dynamic. They run the ball well defensively. Their identity is very much secure. I mentioned the 3 big players that they drafted in the last 3 drafts to make their defense solidified. They've got Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, which was a draft pick that a lot of people criticized. I criticized it. I was wrong. And Jabril Peppers. And they've been fantastic this year. This defense has 15 takeaways. And despite all that, though, the Chargers are loaded offensively, absolutely loaded. And Phillip Rivers has his pick of wherever he wants to go and hasn't really been slowed down by very much. Yes, this defense is elite. No, I don't think the Chargers are going to score tons of points, but Phillip Rivers is a guy that can put the ball accuracy-wise exactly where he wants it. The Chargers, the 1-point dogs on the road, I'm taking them. The Steelers and the Bengals. Pittsburgh visits Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is interesting in large part because they're not exciting. Have you watched a Bengals game this year? Boring. It's no fun, but they've been winning. And that's really what matters there. Pittsburgh, when they're forced to play teams that are good, they haven't shown me they can do it this season. Not consistently. And I don't think that they're able to beat Cincinnati in this game. Cincinnati has offensively found their groove, which is lots of A.J. Green, and then when you try to stop A.J. Green and take him out of the ball game, then they go ahead, Andy Dalton finds everybody else. That's huge. That's big time. The Steelers still struggle to run the ball because James Conner is an okay running back. They've given up on running it. They don't have the versatility with James Conner the way they have it with Le'Veon Bell, where Le'Veon can flex out as a wide receiver even and give you some short yardage plays, run some slant routes, be a guy that runs screen plays as well. He can't give you that. You're not allowing him to give you that. I worry about the Steelers. I worry about their consistency. I worry about their locker room and what Big Ben does to it on basically a weekly basis, which is essentially, woo, I see a hornet's nest. Let me go kick it. Let's stir this pot up. Let's do that. So, yeah, I worry about the state of this. And this is the picks here on Clutch with Keon Rose on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM. Just picking the NFL games throughout the weekend. Moving on to the second half of games on today. Buffalo and Houston. The Bills visit Houston. As much as people have talked about the regression of Houston's offense, they've talked about the regression of Deshaun Watson. I'm not seeing it. The Houston Texans are in the top 5 in the league in terms of trips to the red zone and in terms of yards, total yards throughout the season. Deshaun Watson's doing a fantastic job from 20 to 20. The problem with the Texans is that they seem to struggle in the red zone. They can't get in the end zone. They settle for a lot of field goals. They're not turning the ball over, but they're kicking a lot instead of scoring 6 and converting that into 7. That's going to be a gigantic problem. The Bills are surprisingly good on the defensive end. Josh Allen's finding his way offensively. The Bills aren't good. They're struggling. They're middling. But defensively, this Bills defense is the real deal. This is the reason why they've been able to surprise Minnesota. This is the reason why they've been able to surprise a lot of teams in this league is because they surprised, was it the Ravens the other week? They surprised teams because defensively they're better than they are given credit for. Houston is going to have a struggle, but they're one of the best offensive teams in the league. I expect them to eventually start finding pay dirt. This feels like an anomaly to me, more so than what is the norm. The Rams visit Denver to play the Broncos. And they're 6.5 point favorites. They're 6.5 point favorites. But I'm going to go with the Broncos. I'm going to go with the Broncos for the upset, and here's why. Jared Goff, the LA Rams, California, sunshine. Yeah, Denver's going to be real cold today. There might even be a chance of snow. That's what I read in the weather report. There might be snow. And you know what? You know who's not prepared for snow in October? Me and people from California. I'm not even from California. I'm from Texas. And in October, I don't like snow. Those aren't words I want to hear. It's a little bit colder. Denver's more used to that than is LA. I'm taking the Broncos to finally give the Rams a loss this season. The Ravens visit Tennessee. They visit the Titans. They are 2.5-point favorites in this game. We're getting a Jekyll and Hyde version of the Tennessee Titans. Which version of this team shows up? They're good enough offensively to lay points on anybody. Just anybody. And the Ravens have been up and down too. So this is just a matter of, do we get the good Ravens? Do we get the good Titans? Or do we get the bad Ravens? Do we get the bad Titans? Or some combination of that? Honestly, we got the bad Ravens last week, so I expect the good Ravens. We got the bad Titans last week. I expect the good Titans. So this comes down to defense, and I'm a bigger fan of Baltimore's defense. The way that they've played this year, they're much more aggressive. I'm taking the Ravens over the Titans on the road. Jacksonville visits Dallas. Jacksonville is the number 1 defense in this league. Don't let anybody else tell you any different. And even though Blake Bortles is their quarterback, they do enough offensively to score points. Meanwhile, Dallas is in shambles offensively. They look lost. Dak Prescott still can't diagnose a defense, and the Jaguars have this way of making good quarterbacks look bad. And Dak's not good right now. So what is he going to look like after today? I'm taking the Jags on the road. Kansas City visiting New England. That is the game of the weekend. The Patriots hosting the Chiefs, the undefeated Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and the Patriots are trying to avoid 500. They're trying to avoid 500, but I'm taking the Chiefs. They're 3.5 dogs on the road, but Patrick Mahomes has been electrifying. He can score lots of points, and there's zero things in that New England secondary that leads me to believe that they are capable of stopping the speed of Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. The team speed is what gives them an advantage, even though defensively they're bad too. But the last thing that you want is a shootout if you're New England. And I think this is exactly what this game is going to turn into. It's going to turn into a shootout. And in a shootout, give me Patty Mahomes. Give me Patty Mahomes to take the torch from Tom Brady and usher in this sort of new era of quarterbacks. And finally, Monday night, San Francisco visits Green Bay because San Francisco doesn't have Jimmy Garoppolo, who tore his ACL essentially 2 weeks ago, essentially just running up the sideline. He's just running. He was touched, but the contact isn't what caused the ACL to tear. That's just a wear and tear issue. But I do want to jump back to this Kansas City New England game because Tom Brady was being interviewed and he was talking about how the NFL has turned into glorified college football. And this is where Tom Brady starts to sound like grumpy old man. Yes, but that's because the college players play the game differently today than college players did back in the past. College players did play more of a pro-style looking offense. But now, offensive coordinators in college have figured out, let's spread out offenses. Let's make them more matchup based, one-on-one. We're going to try and use speed. We're going to take defenders and put them on islands against very talented players. So yes, the pro game does look more like the college game, but that's called evolution. Games evolve. The NBA now looks nothing like the NBA did 10 years ago. People shoot more threes now than ever before. And you look at the big men in the NBA that can shoot threes. Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, Blake Griffin. Guys are shooting threes that I never would have thought could shoot a three. Blake Griffin, when he first got into the league, if you told me that Blake Griffin what is Blake Griffin? Is this year 8 or 9 for Blake? If you told me Blake in year 9 would be shooting threes, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have thought you were nuts. Blake Griffin shoots threes now. That's the evolution of the game. We don't have goons in hockey like we used to. They're still there, but not as many and certainly not as prevalent. It's harder to do that job in modern hockey. The game just evolves. You know, the fact that the NFL looks more now like college than it ever did is just a testament to how good college offensive coordinators have been in terms of figuring out how to exploit defenses. Yes, the NFL's rules also make it more advantageous to offensive players, but this just sounds like sour grapes on the half of Tom Brady, right? Like it sounds like a guy who's just like, oh, I can't do any of these things that these new guys are doing. I'm not young enough. Yeah. College offenses work. And if they're working in the NFL, how is that a bad thing? This is a matter of form and function. It works. Like, where's the complaint? Like, Mitchell Trubisky, you could have him try and learn a pro-style offense. I don't think that's in him. I don't think that that's his deal. You need Matt Nagy having that offense be very simple. Let Mitchell Trubisky not struggle to make reads. This is the reason why we're not going to have as many bust quarterbacks moving forward. Because you do what the guys are used to in college. We've seen it work. Why try and fit a square peg into a round hole? Why do that? These guys come in with an offensive skill set that works, and then you bring them into the NFL and say, well, that doesn't work here. You have to learn to do this or you fail. And it doesn't have to be that way. And NFL offensive coordinators are realizing this. And Tom Brady's going to have to get over himself because he's handing the torch off to Patrick Mahomes later today anyway. You're listening to All New Nuga Radio, 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Remember, Wings over North Georgia, in Tennessee, Rome, Georgia, at the Russell B. Regional Airport until 4 p.m. today. Here's something interesting. It's the final point of the show. Sometimes I talk about sports. Sometimes I don't talk about sports. I'm not talking about sports today. Here's something that is absolutely terrifying and horrible. You know what's horrible? People at a restaurant who find out it's your birthday and get the staff to come over to sing to you. I do not want to be serenaded by a bunch of strangers. It's not something I ever wanted in my life. It's not something that I need. I remember one time that I was at Spaghetti Factory in Nashville, and they dragged me out to the middle of the restaurant. That's a big restaurant now. And sang awkwardly happy birthday to me before giving me a happy birthday glass. And while I like free things because I am a cheap person, I would have eaten the glass before I had another person sing happy birthday to me in a restaurant. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nuga Radio 92.7 FM. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening to my part of the day. You know that I appreciate it.